welcome to Sac Taff. And I've got to think, what am I going to call this video? And I think, you know what, I might call it something like emotional, because I've just gone through what I'm going to share with you. And it's really sort of like, that my eyes are a little bit red. It's upset me a bit. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm going to share with you, because I'm reading, still sharing from my book, A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And I've just basically sort of had to sort of brief myself what I'm going to share with you. But I hope that you are enjoying what I'm sharing with you so far. I've got up to chapter 4 of A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And, I'm not going to read everything like word for word, line to line, page to page, because obviously I want to leave you interested, intrigued, want to actually read the book. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? So basically Rebecca now has had the 6 weeks holidays, because before that she was at the convent school. It didn't go well there, and they more or less expelled her. And then it was near the 6 weeks holiday, so she's basically stayed off school for maybe like 3 weeks. 6 weeks holidays have begun, something like that. And she's worked in her father's hardware store, earned a bit of money, and they've gone on 2 holidays. And while that's been taking place, her father's found her a private college in Sutton for students from the age of 15 to 24. So she's getting ready for that. So basically, being an organised young lady, Rebecca had acquired all the new clothing and accessories she felt for the college in advance of the new term. I like the way I was organised, like to be, and I still am like that. It really helps, when you try and be as organised as you can. And so September finally arrived. And the morning of her first day turned out to be bright and pleasant. I actually remember the first day. I remember I think I actually remember what I wore. I'm sure it was something like a grey skirt, a pleated skirt, and sort of like a light sort of sweatshirt without a crew neck, and it was cream on the chest, but from like here and the other side, navy blue. I think so. Anyway, let me see if I've sort of shared the details of what I was wearing, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, but I do remember the first day. I remember getting the train ticket at Thornton Heath and getting on the train, and it was either before I got on the train or when I got off at Sutton train station. I dropped the ticket. I remember it. Yeah. So anyway, and she was quietly excited as she said farewell to her family and proceeded towards the train station. The college was situated in Sutton, which meant she had to allow plenty of time to catch the train. In her anxiety not to be late, she nervously dropped the ticket. Underneath the train as she was getting off. This meant she had to buy another ticket at the barrier before she could leave the train. I don't remember that bit. Anyway, the college was only 5 minutes away, but delay caused her to reach it in a flustered state. Although she could not see that many students were standing outside the college entrance. Summoning up the courage, she entered the college, which held the key to her future. And the room was to the right of the entrance, was filled with students chatting. Rebecca stood alone in the hallway, feeling very wary. It was not long before the headmaster came out of his office and politely addressed the students. He was a tall, slim man with well-groomed grey hair. He spoke with a strong air of authority and commanded respect. Good morning, he said. To those of you who don't know me, my name is Mr. Stanson, your head teacher. Welcome to Stanford College. I've actually put the name of the college in here. Okay. I suppose I can do that, isn't it? Yeah, because I'm not putting any, I'm not slandering or anything like that. So I guess I can, yeah. So I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. And that you're now ready to get down to some hard work. There would be 3 main groups: A1, O1, and O2. It is the group studying A1 is the group studying A levels, and O level subjects. Mr. Cordray is in charge of A1 and O2, and his main subjects are biology, physics, and chemistry. Mr. Walsh is in charge of O1, and his main subject is history. Mr. Stanton even read out the names of the students in each group. Rebecca was in O1. When the headmaster had finished, the students were asked to line up and follow their teacher to their respective classes. Rebecca's teacher, Mr. Walsh, was tall and broad in the shoulders. He had dark hair and a moustache. He was wearing an olive green jacket along with a light green shirt and a brown tie. His corduroy, I remember the corduroy, his corduroy brown trousers matched his tie. There were 21 students in O1, 12 girls and 9 boys. The classroom was upstairs. It was small, but it still managed to accommodate everybody. Rebecca had never been in a mixed class since she was in the infant school. This new situation was totally alien to her, and she began to worry. She had no idea how to approach the boys in order to have a simple conversation with them. She did not know how they would react to her or what she would do if a boy spoke to her. Her thoughts were interrupted by a voice of Mr. Walsh. Hello, as you know, I'm the form teacher and I'll also be your history teacher, so I hope that you all enjoy history. Right, let's make sure that everybody's here. I'm sure the way that Mr. Walsh taught, that I think that was one of the reasons why I sort of swayed towards history. I think looking back, there was so much enthusiasm as regards to history. Maybe that's one of the reasons why, you know, I totally enjoy it. I totally enjoyed it. Yeah. Anyway, after calling out the names, he then read out the class timetables and explained where the college and classes were held. It explained where in the college the classes were held, and the downstairs study room was available to students at break times or for lunch. Those who did not bring their lunch to eat in college could go out to one of the local cafeterias. This was entirely new for Rebecca, because she occasionally skipped out of her other school at lunchtime without permission. But now she was always being encouraged to do so. It's like, wow, okay. Yes, the 3 periods Mr. Walsh was droning on. These are times for you to study and catch up on your work, not for bunking off, he said, and went on to talk about sports and physical education. The rest of it, the rest is just straightforward, he continued. You've got double periods as well. That's basically it. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. He looked across the room from one side to another, but nobody wanted to ask him anything. Okay then. I hope you enjoy your new college life. The bell went. The bell means it's break time, and after break, don't forget to come back to this class because you've got accounts with Miss Rutt. And I remember accounts was one of my favourite subjects as well. Yeah. So the first break went well for Rebecca, who conversed happily with some of the girls in her class. In fact, the whole day went well, and Rebecca found, to her surprise, that it was even easier to talk to the boys than the girls. She seemed to have an excellent sense of humour. I like the way I've written it, excellent. However, it was not long before what Rebecca had dreaded began to occur. The first incident took place one day in the English class. She walked in late and had to sit wherever there was a spare chair. On this particular occasion, the only spare one was at the far end in the second row from the front. Rebecca usually sat near the back for choice, next to 2 shy girls she had befriended, Hayley and Natasha. Yeah, it was safer at the back, because then you know, it's like, okay, so I'm at the back, so there's no one making fun of me at the back, and I can see what's going on at the front. That's how I saw it subconsciously. Yeah, so her late arrival and different positions seemed to attract unusual attention. Tony looked at Martin, Martin looked at Tony, and some of the girls showed interest. Rebecca felt that she was back at her old school where the girls made fun of her Even Miss Reed, the English teacher, realised there was something going on. Rebecca was once more in an emotional torment. She began to hurt so badly that the tears welled up inside her. And as soon as the class came to an end, she hurried down the stairs and out of the college doors. She then walked slowly around the block. I remember this. And that particular walk around the block, the teacher at the beginning said, right, okay, I hope you enjoy your new college life. That walk around the block, it felt, looking back, it was a refreshing part of my new college life. It was a refreshing part of Rebecca's life. Just walking around that block, acknowledging how she felt, acknowledging her surroundings, and realizing that, all right, I've acknowledged how I felt, I've acknowledged my surroundings. Rebecca feels a lot better now. Now it's time to go back to class. And that was a responsible way of thinking, instead of, I don't want to go back to class and how am I going to cope? You know, it wasn't that. It was very sort of, change was always easy. She could see, I can see now, not at the time, change was taking place in the way that she thought, how she reacted. So she walked around. So she then walked slowly around the block. It was the month of October, and leaves had changed from a delicious green to a bright yellow and crisp orange of the season. So soon they would all fall, leaving the ancient trees bare, but even now the paths were paved with them. Rebecca was comforted by her natural surroundings, which signalled only love and warmth. She could not understand how, in contrast, people could be so cruel. She cried silently, and the hurt within her was healed to some extent by her tears. Halfway around the block, she turned and walked slowly back. She stopped for a moment and leaned against the wall, trying to analyse her situation. What was the problem? She felt confused, heartbroken, that the world seemed to find her an object of amusement. When she looked into the mirror, all she saw was a person, an average human being of the female gender. So why was it that some people thought her a joke? She could not understand it. Her tears brought a lump to her throat, which felt as though it was swelling up and giving her more pain. She was almost physically choking. No one could help her, not even her mother could understand or relate to the way she felt. She realised that she had no choice but to put up with her situation, and eventually the tears subsided. The lump settled down, and she knew that she had to return back to the college for the next class. She retraced her steps, entered the college, and bravely carried on as though nothing had happened and nothing was wrong. The way that I've written here that I'll underline it, because I've written here that she felt like she had no choice. Where have I written it? She felt that she had no choice. No, that's how I felt. That's how the character's feeling, like she had no choice. No, she does have a choice, because there's obviously a problem. And I've said it before, I don't understand why I didn't speak to a teacher to express how I was feeling, And maybe the teacher could have told me, no, that's not what the case is, or this, that, what have you. She just kept it to herself, That's why it's important that if you do have an issue or a problem, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, college, or what have you, if you can find someone that you trust that you can talk to about it, and they may not have to be in that location where you're experiencing the problem. Maybe it could be someone outside, your parent, your mum, your dad, a sister, an older sibling, someone, an auntie, someone that you trust that you can talk to, so maybe they can help you in some way or reassure you, there's nothing wrong. So that's the mistake that she was making, but that's how she dealt with it. And even today, sometimes, I keep certain things to myself or whatever. It's different now, to be honest, because, I'm I'm a woman of faith, so you know, if I have a problem or an issue, I pray about it and get strength and courage and ask for wisdom and integrity and that sort of thing. So it's different now. And but at the time, I mean, she was brought up in with a Christian background, but that's not how she dealt with things then. It was like just basically keeping things to herself. And as you saw, at least she came out. She knew she needed time. She knew she needed time for herself, and just to sort of acknowledge the situation and just, you know, think about how she felt, shed a few tears, got rid of the lump in her throat, and then went back because she felt like she had no choice, which is really sad. But we do have a choice, you know. It's just words of encouragement, just to to share with you, just in case you know someone who's going through something like this, or you might be going through something like this, or someone might come to you with an issue similar to this. You know, it's just, I'm just sharing. Yeah. So yeah, here it is. She realised that she had no choice here. I'm denying it. So fortunately, her strength of character and warm personality came to her aid, and the pain within her gradually subsided. Her courage must have had some effect on her fellow students, because she was never again subjected to such a painful ordeal at their hands. Although being an observant person, she realised that her mocking behaviour did resurface on occasions. That their mocking behaviour did resurface on occasions, but never quite so obviously. In any case, she now felt better equipped to deal with it, and she began to get stronger as a result of her experience. And looking back, when I say about how sometimes they did go back and she did experience the mocking, that's something that students do. You sort of like have a little bit of fun and mock each other like that. But I think what it is, and I don't think what it is because of the experience she had in the secondary school, and the experience that she experienced, and the experience she experienced, what she went through in France when she went to Boulogne, it's still there, you know. So although someone might mock you, you know, in a friendly way, she's really taken it to a different level. I think that's what it is. Looking back now, when I was writing the book, it never came across like that, because I wrote this book only a few years later, because I wrote this book when I was 21, and it took me 5 years to write. So all of these emotions were still there. It's only because I've grown and developed, you start looking at things differently, and you can sort of analyze it and sort of, you know, come to these sort of conclusions. Yeah, so so the lessons became more enjoyable as Rebecca relaxed more in class. She disliked chemistry, physics and maths, but enjoyed history, biology, accounts and English. Break times more enjoyable. No, break times also were enjoyable, as more of her time was spent with Hayley and Natasha, and the three girls began to blend in with their other colleagues. The boys loved talking to Rebecca. They found her bright and amusing. She was a curious mixture, an introvert inside and in the classroom, but a complete extrovert outside. This fact was confirmed on one occasion in the English class, when Miss Reed made an interesting point concerning the pupils. What she said was that in the class we have some extroverts and we have some introverts. The extroverts were the boys, were mainly the boys, and there are some who are introverts. So she said that the extroverts naming most of the boys. Then she turned to the introverts, indicating the three girls, Natasha, Hayley and Rebecca, sitting as usual at the back. And you know, she named Rebecca. And then one of the boys said, Martin said, no, Rebecca's she's not an introvert. She's not when she's outside of the class. Rebecca was grateful for that. He said, because it must have made Miss Reed realise that the student she regarded as an introvert was not an open book that could be read easily. Yeah, so basically, it's only a few years ago, one of my friends, quite a dear friend of mine, she said to me that you're an introvert and an extrovert. She picked up on it. And the word for that is omnivert, because you're both. Because I can sit in a room quiet as a mouse and not say anything, because I like to listen and learn, and I won't say anything. And then on other occasions, you might see me sort of asking a lot of questions, standing up and talking, or, you know, not being afraid to air out my point of view in a very sort of like bold way, you know, and you'll be thinking, who is this person? Or sometimes I'm so quiet, people think that they can, you know, treat you in a certain way or treat me in a certain way, not realizing that I was the wrong person to do that for, because if I need to stand up for myself, I can, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, not in a, hopefully not in an aggressive way. I don't like to but I can stick up for myself. But if you see me and I'm so quiet, and you think that, you know, I'm afraid to speak, and then next minute you see me speaking in public, you know, it can sort of confuse. At that age, though, I wouldn't have wanted to speak in public, but when we were outside of class, I'd be laughing and telling jokes, and, you know, I'd just really be sort of like a completely different person than I was in class. And it was good that Martin picked up on that. And I remember I have an event called the Come and See event. I remember reading a poem, and the poet was sharing about how, you know, they're both an introvert and an extrovert. 1 minute they're an introvert, next minute at the end they're like an extrovert, or the other way around. And I shared about how, what I've just shared with you, how a friend picked up on it. And one of the people there, and they're one of the older, wiser ones, they said, yeah, I know that there's no such word as an omnivert. I said, no, there is a word called omnivert. There is. It means you're both. And it really amused me, because normally I'm learning from this particular person, and they didn't realise that omnivert was an actual word. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so the days passed quickly, and Rebecca and her fellow students got to know one another much better. There was only one girl in O2 who appeared to dislike her. To judge by the way she looked at her, her name was Samantha. She was a mixed race, petite and pretty young woman with shoulder length curly brown hair. And during one particular study period, Rebecca and Hayley were sitting together at a round table. And I'm underlining round table for a particular reason. I may share about that another time, because time's moving on. Yeah, at a round table to one side of the room, and Samantha seemed to be daydreaming into space, but from time to time, Rebecca thought that she was staring at her with unfriendly eyes. As there were not many people in the study room, Rebecca decided this was a good time to confront her. So she did. She went up to her and asked her what she was looking at. Hayley and Natasha was like, what's going to happen now? But Rebecca, she just wanted to know what's going on here. You know, what's you staring at? Rebecca repeated. She asked the first time, and obviously repeated. And then as Rebecca walked across the room, Samantha dropped her gaze and changed from an aggressive young woman. She wasn't aggressive, so I don't know why I used the word aggressive, into an insecure child or young lady. And Samantha's eyes flickered as she said nothing. Her body language told its own story. Realising that she had caused offence, she was suddenly vulnerable and tried to explain. Sometimes I find it difficult to get on with people when I don't really know them. She stopped awkwardly. When I don't know the type of personality they have, she added hesitantly. Rebecca was immediately more sympathetic. She could warm to someone she could talk to, and in a far less aggressive voice said, I'm like that sometimes myself. Rebecca realised that Samantha and herself had something in common, and she sought to reassure her. So what you doing? So what do you think of the college? She asked. It's okay, Samantha replied. Basically, they got in conversation, and from then on, they got on well. And much of her At break times, Rebecca and Samantha would often socialise, making their college lives more enjoyable. Hayley and Natasha were quiet girls, but Samantha was more bubbly and outgoing. So Rebecca, yeah, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think that I like the way that Rebecca, the character, saw there was an issue with this person and wasn't afraid to ask that particular person what the problem was in such a way that it didn't cause any mayhem, it didn't cause an argument or anything like that. She just wanted to know. And I like the way that she chose a time where there wasn't a lot of people in the room, so it wouldn't cause too much, it wouldn't be a problem really. And from the way that she dealt with the situation, something good came out of it. They developed a friendship, now a friend, now she's got another friend. So sometimes, when you go to these, you start a new school or college, sometimes it takes time, doesn't it, to make good friends. You can make friends, but it's nice when, you take your time to decide who you're going to befriend. On the first day, you just want to talk to people, so you're not sort of like left on your own. But it is nice when you do finally have particular bonds with particular people for particular reasons. So that's really, really encouraging. So you can see the growth of Rebecca, how she's changing. And the reason why she is changing is because of what she's gone through. It's just to encourage you that whatever it is you're going through, hold on to it, because it's a learning curve. Now Rebecca's a little bit more confident. She's gone to she's used to going to new schools, which isn't really a good thing, but she's used to it. So, she's used to, meeting new people, being in a situation where she's new. But at the college, everybody's new, so they're all in the same boat. And she's made a few friends. She knows where her place is at the back, which shouldn't really be the way. But that's how she's dealing with it. She's had a problem in the class. She's removed herself from the class, walked around to give herself some space and some time to deal with the situation, and then gone back. She's gone back a little bit stronger, a little bit wiser, gone back. At lunchtime, she's socialising. So she's not afraid to socialise. She's socialising with the boys and with the girls. Break time, she's made friends with Samantha, and she's talking to her at break time and lunch times, but sometimes at lunchtime she'll go out. And again, it's mainly on her own when she goes out. So she's got that space. So she's got some sort of a routine going on where it's working for her. It is working for her. So whatever it is, what you're going through, if you know someone going through something similar, hold on. Tell them to hold on, because it is a learning curve. Like I've just said, it's a learning curve to strengthen you, and it creates character and personality, and you'll see how Rebecca's life develops because of it. If all of these things didn't happen, I wouldn't have anything to share about. I wouldn't, and sometimes I look back and I'm grateful for the things that I went through, because it strengthened me. I'm grateful that I had good parents there that supported me and listened to me. So it's always good to have, if you've got the support at home, fantastic, or it might be a friend or a relative that you can get support from, so that you can talk to them and discuss how you're feeling and what's going on, so you've got the right support. And that really does help as well. But it's just to encourage you that if whatever it is you're going through, hold on. It's a learning curve. And as you learn, it strengthens you. And then you move forward. You move forward with a different strength, with a different type of understanding, which some people don't have because they haven't gone through that. So now you've got that benefit of going through certain things, and it strengthens you. It's molded your character for the good, if you can get something good from it, not sort of like a begrudge or rebellion or hatred or all of that, not any of that. If you can just move on and just learn from the situation, and you'll see it will strengthen you, and it would take you into the future as a stronger person. So it's positive, it really is positive. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast as well. I'm getting a lot from it as well, you know, because like I said, I read further on from what I've shared. I didn't realise it was going to take this long to share up until that point, because there's a bit further on where it was like it really did get to me, and I got, you know, a little bit tearful. It's like, oh wow, you know, yeah, it's to do with the support of my parents. You know, I just feel so blessed that I had parents like that really looked out for me and my welfare. They wanted the best for me, you know, and it was like they weren't judging me, you know. They knew me, they knew their child, you know, and they knew that she was a good child, even though she was having all these problems in schooling and college. There was a reason behind it, and they knew that, you know, they didn't have to worry too much. So it's really, really encouraging. I hope that you're enjoying me sharing what's a sacrifice of a lifetime. I really need to start typing this up, because like every time I pick the book up and I start sharing with you, I get really excited about the fact that I really want to bring this book back out. I've just got to find that time where I can sit down and get into a routine where I am rewriting this book as well. And I've also got part 2 to write for Taffy Howe as well. So there's a lot. And also I'm supposed to be finishing off a children's book, so there's a lot going on, which is all good. It's all good. If you want to follow me on YouTube, you can do. It's Welcome Rosalind Roberts. I'm putting my podcast on studio YouTube at the moment. My Instagram is Rosalind1325. My Facebook is Rosalind Roberts, and my X is at author_RR Roberts. And then if you want to buy the book Taffy Howe, if I've got it on me, I know I bought it. It's somewhere here. If you want to buy my book, that's handy, isn't it? If you want to buy my book Taffy Howe, you can get it on vintage.com online. I had it, here it is. You can get it on vintage.com online. You can get it. It's got a bit damp. Anyway, yeah, so anyway, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.